Hello students, welcome to Legacy Academy. In today's video, we are going to discuss about the recent deal that has been brokered by China between the Palestinian groups who has been fighting with each other for quite some time, especially the two major groups that represent the Palestinian interest. One is Hamas and the other is Fatah. So basically the deal was brokered to reach a consensus between both these groups. So what is the significance of this deal and what are the changes that we can expect in the Middle Eastern diplomacy after this deal? Let us try to understand this in more detail. So first of all, to give you the brief background of this particular topic. So the leaders of Palestinian groups, the two groups as we have discussed, Hamas as well as Fatah, they have signed a Chinese broker deal and they have released a declaration in the Beijing, that is the capital of China. And the main end point of this deal was that they placed, both of this group have placed to end the division and strengthen unity and work together for the Palestinian cause, specifically focusing upon a two-state solution and independence of Palestine with Jerusalem as its capital. So the two groups have competed in the past over the political leadership of the Palestinian authorities, that who is the actual leader who can represent the interest of the country. So representatives of not only these two groups, 12 other Palestinian groups also have participated in 3 days of talks that were brokered by China, and the core outcome being that Palestine Liberation Organization, that is also known popularly by the name of PLO. The PLO is an organization that was established by a well-known Palestinian leader by Yasser Arafat. So it has been decided in this deal that PLO is going to be the sole legitimate representatives of all Palestinian people. In other way, both Hamas and Fatah, they have agreed to allow PLO to become the main voice of the Palestinian interest. Now, in this context, if we look at the declaration, what are the major features or points of declaration? So first of all, it proposes to host an international conference with broad participation and full authority of all the Palestinian groups. Now, second, it will try to achieve a comprehensive national unity which would include all Palestinian factions within the framework of the PLO, whether it is Hamas, whether it is Fatah, or all other 10, 12 different organizations that is working in this region. And third, to establish an independent Palestinian state with Jerusalem as its capital. So these are the three major features that we can identify in this particular deal. Now, if we try to understand about the groups such as Hamas, Fatah and PLO, so first of all, let us try to look at the map of Israel and Palestine. So as we can see, this is the Israel, and the Palestine is basically having a limited control over the territory of Gaza Strip, that is in the west, opening toward the Mediterranean Sea. And then you have a large area that is referred as West Bank, which is having bordered the Jordan River. And to the south of West Bank, you can see you have the Dead Sea that is situated at the border of Israel, West Bank and Palestine. So if we talk about the Hamas and Fatah, what we can see that Hamas and Fatah, these are the two major political groups in the Palestinian territory. That is Gaza Strip, that is being controlled by the Hamas largely, and the West Bank is largely under the control of Fatah organization. So Hamas is in power in Gaza, while Fatah is the Palestinian Authority, which governs some part of the West Bank. Why we are calling it some part? Because clearly, as you can see from this map, here the yellow areas are the areas of West Bank, which is under the control of the Fatah organization or Palestinian organization. Remaining area is still under the large control of Israeli government. Now, most of West Bank is under Israeli control, as we can see clearly on this particular map. So if we try to understand and look at the brief history of both these organizations, we can go back to the year 1950s. It was the 1950 when the organization by the name of Fatah was established, and it became the most powerful organizations in the PLO, created in 1964, or morphed in the PLO, created in 1964 to unite the Palestinian group. Now PLO itself, as we have discussed, was created by a well-known leader, Yasser Arafat, who for decades was the main voice of the Palestinian people. It is after his death, Muhammad Abbas, who became the new chief of PLO, has become a de facto leader of the Palestine. So if we talk about the Palestinian Liberation Organization, It is representative of Palestine at various international organizations, and Hamas is not a part of it. However, what we have discussed, Hamas has a large control over the Gaza Strip, and that is what was making it very, very difficult to govern and present a united voice for the Palestinian people at the global, or we can say at the international level, at international organizations. Then if you look at the year 1987, almost 37 years after the establishment of Fatah, a new organization which was more radical organization, which was having more Islamist kind of ideology, came into picture, and it emerged as a resistant group in the beginning against the Israeli occupation after the first Intifada, or also called as the first uprising. Now, why Hamas established and started to gain prominence and validation in the Palestinian territory? It is believed that the work that was being done by the PLO and especially Fatah, the faith of people in their work was dwindling, and also especially about the prospect of Palestinian goals for independence. Despite working for 3-4 decades, they were not able to achieve any significant outcome. That is why the Palestinian peoples got tired of, and they started to think and started to thought that the Hamas might be able to realize these goals and will be able to attain a country or nation for the Palestinian people. So Hamas advocated the use of violence because they said that the strategy adopted by the Fatah and PLO before has not yielded any result, and the only way how we can achieve his goal is by the use of violence. And it resonated with many people of Palestine, especially among the youth population of Palestine, and they started massively supporting this particular organization. So now if you look at the differences, what is the major difference between Hamas and Fatah, the two major groups? So first of all, the difference is basically on the basis of the approach which they want to adopt to the Palestinian movement. So if you look at the Hamas, the recognition of Israel is something that they are not comfortable with because they believe that if we recognize Israel as a legitimate state, it is similar to conceding, or it is equivalent to conceding the right to the Palestinian statehood. Now, between Hamas and Fatah, as we discussed, Hamas is having more Islamist, more radical ideology, while Fatah was more secular in its outlook, thus more tolerant. Second difference is that Hamas has taken a very hardline stance on all the Jewish people, while the Fatah group was largely focused on having an independent status or independent nation for the Palestinian people, and its work and ideology was not something that is toward hatred toward the Jews. However, in year 2007, we can understand the difference. Hamas came to control Gaza after winning the elections with around 44% of the vote, and thus they started to use violence significantly and also started to have a what you can say have a kind of propaganda against the Jewish people. However, by the year 2017, we have seen the shift in positions of the Hamas. Now, this shift basically came after Hamas published a new charter, a new political charter in 2017, and this new political charters, they basically cleared the air about their outlook. They said that they are against the racist, aggressive, colonial and expansionist aims of the Zionist project, and they are not against the Judaism or the generally people who belong to the Jewish faith. And that is something that we can see here, a clear change in stance in the last 10 years between 2007 to 2017. So now the question is asked that why the shift happened in the outlook or stance of Hamas. The reason is because the changes in the what we can say that in the diplomatic dynamics that we have seen in the Middle East. And what changed? Basically, the Palestinian issue began to lose prominence in the Middle East politics. And this is something that is clearly visible as more and more Arab states, for example, the United Arab Emirates, one of the most prominent Arab states of the region, it started to sign a trade agreements and began to normalize relationship with the state of Israel. So with this, the Israel started to get more and more legitimacy, and Hamas understood that if it did not take their hatred and this strong radical ideology, they did not change it, not transform it, then obviously their war will be lost without any kind of achieving any of its desired goal. So this was the major reason behind the shift in the outlook. Now, if we talk about the current deal again that has been brokered by China, let us try to understand this also in slight more detail. So, the reason behind such deals, why the groups have agreed to meet and have a brokered agreement, is because after the October 7 campaign launched by Hamas, where they attacked the state of Israel, there has been no resolution to the brutal conflict that this incident has basically given rise to, because after this October 7 attack, Israeli military has completely decimated and started attacking the West Bank, this Gaza Strip region. So because of no resolution to the brutal conflict after the Hamas attack against Israel followed Israel military campaign. The reason was basically believed to be the lack of any single Palestinian representative, because the Palestinian group itself is divided into, as we have discussed, 14 groups with 2 major factions and 12 minor factions. So the lack of Palestinian representative who can enjoy support among all the parties is believed to be the main reason behind the slow progress on any kind of peace that can be established between the Israel and Palestine, that is causing loss of life to thousands and thousands of people and innocent citizens. Israel, for instance, views Hamas as a terrorist group which needs to be completely destroyed, and that is why if Hamas is emerges as a legitimate party or legitimate group to basically vocalize the Palestinian interest, this is something that Israel will not agree with, and Israel will not go in any kind of negotiation with this group. Not only Israel, but even if you talk about the United States, which is a staunch ally and supporter of Israel, it also has condemned Hamas multiple times, and that is why US also might not be able to broker any kind of deal as long as Hamas remains a dominant party or dominant group. So in this scenario, China has attempted to present itself as a mediator with no selfish interest in the issue and a staunch advocate of justice and fairness. In other way, China is trying to fill the gap which has been created due to the what we can say withdrawal of United States from the Middle Eastern politics and Middle Eastern geopolitics. And the China has a vested interest in increasing its assertiveness in the regional diplomacy. So, if we talk about the Chinese position on the issue, obviously the Chinese Ministry of External Affairs and its spokesman has released a statement where they have stated that China is a friend to both Israel as well as Palestine, and they hope to see both countries living together in peace. Now, what they say, what is the possible ways how this can be achieved? So they have again reiterated 2 major points, that there should be a realization of the 2-state solution where both Israel and Palestine live side by side, and there should be establishment of an independent state of Palestine. Now, China has attempted to position itself as a reliable partner for the Middle East and as an alternative to the United States' role so far, as I have told you before. This is not something that is seen for the first time, but also, as you know, that 2 major rivals, that is largely the rivalry going on in the Middle East between the Sunni-led Saudi group and you have the Shia majority Iran. So Saudi-Iran rivalry, there also China has tried to play a role of mediator, and they have brokered a kind of peace agreement between both these countries in last year. So this is the extension of the same approach. Now, its significant economic heft that China enjoys also allows it to form trade ties that supplement diplomatic relationship. So China will have a win-win stance no matter whatever is the outcome of this particular deal. Now, in conclusion, what we can say that obviously whether the declaration can result in a lasting impact on a stability in the region remains to be seen, because it is not the first time that the 2 rival groups Hamas and Fatah have come together on a table, but every time they have said that they will work together, such deals have fallen apart in the past also over the internal disagreement. And coincidentally, the agreement was brokered 2 days back, and Hamas leader, the main leader of Hamas, that is Ismail Haniyeh, as you can see from the picture here, he was assassinated yesterday in the early hours of the morning in the Iran, in the city of Iran, where he was continuously living. So he was basically, because he was targeted by Israel all the time, he could not live and go in Palestine. So he was generally living in Qatar, sometime moving to Turkey, sometime moving to Iran. However, in the Iran, he participated in the ceremony where president was elected there, and that is when after the ceremony he was assassinated. So this is another setback in overall. What we can say is the peace, the expected peace in the region between Israel and Palestine, because after the assassination, Hamas has released a statement where it said that Israel is the country which is behind the assassination and they have vowed to take revenge against the killing of their leader. So we have still yet to see that how this entire situation unfolds, but China obviously is trying to gain or increase its footprint in the Middle Eastern diplomacy. At least that is the message we can take from this particular brokered act. That is all for this particular video. Thank you very much.